Yeah, I think I was might have been still an apprentice when I had my first and only ride in the race, sort of some years ago. It was the year that we all wore the gold silks actually, so I think Forensics won it. Yeah, Hustle and Lightning, David Hayes trained him and he sort of let him up around the turn and ended up petering out of it and sort of running down the track, but obviously it was a good experience for me at the time. Being a sprint as well, it happens quick, you know. The gates open. There always seems to be generally a lot of pressure on from sort of time they jump, which obviously probably adds a little bit to the spectacle of the race as well. You obviously haven't been on him, but watched his replays. His form up to his last run was quite good. Beat a horse called All the Talk, who runs in it, and then ran a close second to Whittington, one of Gay's. And they're both well in the market, and his last start will be 2 weeks prior to the slipper. Didn't have things go his way. There was a race where there was a horse actually dumped a rider at the start. Forget about his last run and go on his previous form. He's an each-way chance, but obviously he needs to bounce back from his performance the other day.
Hong Kong-based Australian rider Tim Clark is going to be at Rosehill tomorrow to take up a riding engagement in the slipper, albeit a long shot VAR Pensiero.
Yeah, around 150 to 1, but they'll give him every opportunity. Look, he wouldn't have been that price if it wasn't for a shocking last start performance, where maybe he's a little bit unlucky getting checked by a riderless sidestep, who was one of the big market movers in this field.
We're looking for mud runners in the slipper tomorrow. Will the favourite carry the weight of expectation successfully? Overreach has been dominating the markets right throughout the lead-up, although starting to ease a bit now with all the wet weather around.
Yeah, and I think also starting to ease a little bit because there's a perception that there is other good speed in the race, that she may have to do some work, and I think in those circumstances people aren't that keen to take 2.3 or 2.4. I would not be surprised particularly if on the day the inside of the track is not favoured, if she didn't get out to sort of 2 to 1, 3.5, something like that, which I think is a good price. Even money, probably not so good a price. She has been the standout 2-year-old in Australia, no question about that. In a year where there actually haven't been that many great 2-year-old performances. I mean, you take away her and you take away Miracles of Life, and it's been pretty stock standard most of the way through. And I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but I do think we've got some outside form coming in which could test the Australian form in the New Zealand filly, who I think is probably the best 2-year-old in New Zealand since our Mays K. We're talking 18 years ago.
Okay.
Our Mays K, I think, ran 4th.
Beaten just over a length from gate 16. So there are some similarities there.
Well, Overreach has gate 1 for tomorrow's $3.5 million Golden Slipper and has Pickett's fence form coming into the race this campaign.
A horse that was second to a Villa Verde and Sean Dwyer after this was actually really flat, because he was hoping to be able to sort of finish within 2 lengths of Overreach, and it was over 4 in the end. He felt that maybe Villa Verde could be competitive with Overreach in the slipper if she could keep that margin to 2, but she just blew her away.
Yeah, and I think there's a false sense that Villa Verde is a better horse than Overreach, created in the spring. If you look at the video the day that Villa Verde beat Overreach at Caulfield, Overreach was on the wrong leg the whole way around, and Villa Verde had a lovely drop on her, did everything perfectly. So I think this notion that Villa Verde beat her on her merits is not correct. The Sydney way of going, Overreach is a completely different horse. She was explosive on a soft track, slightly soft track, 2 runs ago. She probably wasn't quite as explosive there on top of the ground, but either of those runs, I think, puts her right in the finish.
The slipper fits Gay Waterhouse very well. She's had 33 starters in the race, won it 4 times. Will she add another to the trophy cabinet tomorrow?
She's fabulous. I couldn't be happier with her. She's very relaxed. She's a long, loose filly. She's by Exceed and Excel, and they don't carry a lot of condition, but she's certainly a lovely filly.
She worked on Saturday morning. Was it the kind of work you'd like to see heading towards the slipper?
She had a bit of a look around, but the regular rider, Steve O'Halloran, was very pleased with her, and I was happy with the way she found the line. She doesn't have to do much more except just, tick that box again, doesn't she?
Sweet Idea's one tough little customer. How do you think she'll perform on Saturday?
Fabulous. I think she's the horse to beat. She's big, she's strong, she's like a colt. She's very focused, she's very professional, and she'll take a stack of beating.
And has that 5 weeks between races served her well?
I think so. I trialled her only 10 days ago at Randwick. I found that that's a formula that works well going into the slipper. I've won 4 slippers, and they've all done the same, the same thing beforehand.
And how about the colt? How's he?
He's really good. He's really good. Whittington's probably a bit of an unsung hero, but his win in the long row was excellent. He's gone ahead since then. You know, he is a male, so he's nice and strong. I think he's well weighted, and he's ridden by Nasharella. And he'll have that last attack at the line, and maybe that's exactly what wins the slipper.
I must say I'm a little bit bamboozled after that interview with Gay, because I can't quite decipher which one she thinks will win the race. Punters think it's Overreach, but Gay, Sweet Idea.
Well, Gay's long been a champion of the idea of bracketing stablemates, I think. They're all certainties. Whatever price they are, whatever anyone thinks of them, they're all going to hit the line first, so perhaps you've got to back them all. But I think she's very positive about the other. And both Sweet Idea and Whittington are nice horses. Whittington, I'm sure we haven't seen the best of at this stage. Maybe he's a sire's horse at Randwick, but Sweet Idea's been very solid to me. She's in a group of the sort of next ones after the main chances.
Is there a chance that there'll be an overreaction to Sweet Idea, given that she won a race on a heavy track, and people are searching for
almost certainly there will be an overreaction.
I mean, Jim Cassidy's probably sitting there going, ha ha, it's raining, which is possibly a good thing for him.
Ha ha being the operative word there. Yeah. He won the race.
Good idea. We're going to start that game.
Sorry, no, let's not start this game. But anyway, it's interesting because people will be looking to that and thinking, well, let's put a circle around any horse that's won on a slow, heavy track. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think the day that she won on the wet track, she was very much helped by Curocchio and It's All the Talk, chopping into each other mercilessly in the lead and just making it for the horses just behind. And she didn't street them. She won, but she didn't street them. She didn't look exceptional.
David Payne saddles up a horse called Criterion in the race, won its past 2. A son of Sebring, who won this race a number of years ago on a heavy track, so there's some pedigree support there.
This is the Todman Stakes, Joe, that you speak of, and it was run 6 or 7 tenths slower than Overreach won the Reason on the same day. Fast and Rocking's on the inside there, just being passed now by Criterion. How do you measure up the males from this race here? Well,
I think the interesting thing about the Australian 2-year-old season has been that for the first half of it, the fillies were clearly the better horses, but I think there's a little bit of catch-up happening with the colts. Criterion very solid. I don't know if he's necessarily the colt that's the knockout. He's right there with some chance. But I did like the win of Sidestep last week, and for a long time doing these races in Sydney, these horses that raced the previous week in the Pango Pango and the Magic Night Stakes as the final lead-ups to the slipper, regardless of what anyone thought of them at the time, they run races in the Golden Slipper. I mean, even you go back a year or two ago, Ichihara, last year it might have even been Ichihara. Nobody gave her any chance in the slipper, but she was coming off that 7-day backup, and they run well. Now, Sidestep has been very impressive there. He ran faster time than the fillies, which has been unusual this season, and he gets blinkers for the first time in this race. So there's a lot there to like about Sidestep as a latecomer in the race, the kind of horse that Stratum was when he won the Golden Slipper. Unheralded for most of the season, and then the last minute you go, whoa, this one's okay. So
it was a softer win, as you'll see too, so there's something still left in the tank for the Slipper. And for the Darley team, they have 3 runners lining up.
A really nice horse. He's a dual stakes winner. He's done a great job for us. He's a very, very honest horse. Drawing out there is obviously not ideal, but he's a horse with a lot of speed, and there's a fair bit of speed drawn out there with him. So he'll come across, and I'm sure he'll acquit himself well.
We haven't seen him since the Silver Slipper. How's he been since then?
Yeah, very well. He's a very tough little horse. He's had a long preparation, obviously, back in the Blue Diamond Preview and Prelude, and with a very hard run in that Silver Slipper, we expected he might have just had enough, but he keeps putting his hand up, typical of the breed, and he's done very well since.
Sidestep backs up after a very good effort in the pay-go. He's obviously come through the run well, and he'll jump from barrier 5, which looks a nice alley for him.
Yeah, an ideal draw. We expect he'll probably settle midfield. We put the blinkers on him for Saturday just to try and find the extra 5% and get him to focus. Really nice horse, and we're confident he'll run well.
And lastly, you'll have Guelph, who's a bit of a forgotten horse, and she's drawn barrier 9, comes into 8. How's she been since Melbourne?
Yeah, very, very well, and Peter was adamant after a disappointing effort in the Blue Diamond that we'd aim her straight at the Golden Slipper. She had an easy trial 10 days ago, which was very pleasing. She's got a great constitution, great attitude, and that's a nice draw for her again to finish off strongly. So on her best form, we think she's a genuine chance in a race like this.
If you had to split the 3?
Probably have to go with Sidestep. He's a really talented horse, in good form. Ideally, we wouldn't have to have backed him up 3 weeks in a row, but we think he'll be at his best there on Saturday.
So the Darley team labelling Sidestep as their best winning chance of the 3, but I don't think we can forget Guelph. She comes out of the Blue Diamond, probably forget she even ran in that, and she's from a mud running family, so she may improve on the ground tonight.
Yeah, you take the lead from McAvoy though, don't you, and the fact that he's gone on to Sidestep, and he's described Sidestep as having that sense of timing that sort of he wants to see in a horse that could win a Golden Slipper. The blinkers on, as we've found out there.
Again, also a sense of timing.
Yeah.
Go on in the major race after you're coming off an impressive win. I think that's a huge plus. Guelph might be a place chance if things work out for her, but I think that Sidestep is easily the best chance for the Darley side.
Out of those 3 Darley horses, I think the one that's going to make the race is Caroccio in terms of pace. You mentioned the mad pace that he set last time, and that's going to be a real knock potentially on a horse like Overreach. And you'd expect there'll be very few options other than to go forward from barrier 1, because you don't want to be 3 back the inside.
That's right. He won't want to get crossed twice. He'll probably be happy to be crossed once and box seat. But I do think Caroccio could bring over Rude Awakening if she begins, and that might help her cause.
One more horse I want to quickly throw into the mix is Gerald Ryan's horse, My Charlie Boy. The boom horse in the early part of the 2-year-old season, and expected to improve pretty sharply tomorrow.
Well, he was ridden upside down in his lead up. He over-raced. He did everything wrong. You just throw that in the bin. I doubt whether his previous form is good enough, but I would expect him not to run as badly as he did in the lead up.
Okay. Selection time. I find it very hard to go past the favourite. In fact, we all do. Overreach does look to have the race at her mercy tomorrow off gate 1. Hot favourites have won the race for the past 3 years, so a good record there. But Colts have won the past 2 slippers.
What's going on here, Joe? What's going on here? We've got a Kiwi leaving out the Kiwi and an Aussie including a Kiwi. What's happening here?
Oh, I do think Rude Awakening is a serious horse. Haven't seen a better 2-year-old since our Maze K. And I'm just throwing in the possibility that this is not a vintage crop of 2-year-olds in Australia this year. It's difficult to know that when they're only racing against each other until something else comes in. So I'm throwing her in as a danger and Sidestep for 3rd.
Well, the only time she was beaten, she missed the kick, and it was actually a huge run to come around them and just miss. A horse that she subsequently beat in a Group 1 race. So I've gone Villa Verde though for 3rd, but we'll be watching the price on Rude Awakening. She's about $14 last time I checked.
Okay. It could be Gay Waterhouse's 5th slipper win tomorrow. She won the race last year with Piero.
In the Amy Golden Slipper. They're off and racing. Piero box seat behind them, looking for a run, then no looking back, and Raceway about to hook to the outside, then later Gator and doubtfully, and Samaretti coming down the outside. She's still got about 4 or 5 to make up, but Stitzaland straight away. Piero's chasing it down along the inside, and then Raceway followed by Ashakan. Samaretti's making ground later. Piero coming after Stitzaland. Piero drove through